So the moment I'm thinking about a catastrophe that's happening in the future, it's immediately producing a chemical reaction, which is my emotion, which is fear. And that emotion is what the body is taking as a signal to fight or flight.
So there are no guarantees as such. The only thing there's a guarantee of that if you continue doing the work and you stay longer than anyone else did, just the way you said that no matter, you can't beat me because I'll keep coming back. It's that, fall 7 times, get up 8 kind of thing. That's the only thing that guarantees you'll do better.
You're tuned into the Alpha Coach Podcast.
Hey guys, welcome back to the Alpha Coach Podcast. My name is Glenn. I am a radio host and a podcaster. We've got the founder CEO of Alpha Coach, Ketan, with us. And once again joining us is success coach Monica Mascarenhas. How are you doing?
Great, thanks, Glenn.
It's so good to have you here because you've opened up so many possibilities for most of us, in fact. I mean, I know a lot of people are getting inspired listening to you. A lot of people have found their answers, their purpose, and are on the road to find their purpose. A lot of times, we're stuck. We know what to do, but we don't know how to do it. And I think you've opened those possibilities. So thank you very much and welcome, guys, once again.
Thank you, Glenn.
Thanks, Glenn.
Monica, I always say to go from awe se awesome tak, you definitely need coaching. You definitely need some amount of mentoring. You need some amount of guidance. But I always believe that physical and mental coaching is one. The mind and the body is one. Sometimes we train these two aspects individually. But I think you need to train the mind and the body as one entity. What are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, that's a brilliant question, Glenn, because a lot of the times what we're really living in is our head, right? So we walk around literally like heads on sticks, right? I think in the last episode, what we talked about was the story of me, who we make up.
Right.
And that's what's in the head, right? All the knowledge that we put in. But actually, the intelligence, who we truly are, is the body, right? That's where you're getting your emotions from. And the body never lies.
Right.
Right? So your brain might be saying, I love this job because I'm getting the paycheck, or, I'm getting the adulation or the validation. But the body's going, you feel this constant sense of unease or frustration or stress, which, if ignored, can lead to long-term illness, right? So we'll kind of like push a pill down and kind of suppress that feeling. But the body is really the real intelligence of who we are, and it's constantly giving us signals. This is our internal compass. And so in order for us to really, truly find our purpose, to really feel well, so you might be doing well, but are you really well? And that's what the body will show, right? So it's really about understanding those signals. And this is where meditation comes in, to find out the body scan meditation to see where is the stress levels. But you also need to be very physically fit. So that includes nutrition, really good nutrition. And that includes understanding, to constantly keep your body active, to keep it fit, because that's where you get your energy from. You can't go to work every day in a lethargic, stress state. You're not going to be at your creative best or your productive best. So you really need to have a very active, intelligent body system giving you a lot of intelligence signals every now and then.
Right. So you've got to treat this as one entity. You can't.
It is one entity, absolutely.
It is one entity. You can't.
Yes.
You can't train them separately. Okay, sometimes I wish all of these things were, taught to us way back in school, like taxation and all of these things, and especially how to lose, which is so essential, right? In life, we're always taught to win. We never taught कि हारेंगे तो ऐसा होगा. If you're.
Yeah, I mean, there weren't any professional courses or coaching actually that happened as children, right? At that point, we obviously had uncles, parents, older siblings, everybody who sort of meant well to already do that. But so those things were something where, as a society, we've now come to say, okay, there are certain aspects that people should need coaching, right? Not everybody is as driven as the other person. Earlier we'd say, you work hard, you know the 5 steps, okay, we work hard, like in fitness, for example, right? You'd get up, you have to train, you need to eat clean, you need to do these things, you'll get there. But nobody's driven to get there because they're holding themselves back for whatever reason, right? And that's where, you need some sort of a coach to come in and say, listen, you got this. That's what a coach really does. I mean, especially a success coach, etc. A fitness coach will say, let's build this into your lifestyle. Let's sort of build that structure, etc. So as a result of which, these things have now come to the fore where we identify this. But if you think about why, we've also sort of come to this point, right? Because earlier, remember how when we all grew up, went to school, things were easy. You just went, got into a bus, got into a BST bus, going to school, took an auto ourselves. But as a society, what we've actually becoming is more and more soft because everything is more and more controlled, right? My son goes in a chauffeur-driven car. His bus comes into the building and gets picked up, etc. We all raise our kids in the utmost of comforts. Everything is so controlled, and as a result of which, we have other problems wherein a small hurdle, a small not mishap, but small challenges that come your way,
Right.
and you get thrown off, saying, "Oh my
Absolutely.
God, I can't take this," right? So as a result of which, if you have the right now professional coaches to guide you along that way and say, listen, this is not such a big deal. Don't say these things to yourself. Don't have to, don't sort of have that negative self-talk, etc. Then you can actually still overcome those and sort of go. So that's where I think, the whole thing comes across.
It's very, again, I'm going to say this is very simple sometimes to say, through jargon like, have positive self-talk. And with no offense, but very
Yeah.
honestly, it's very simple sometimes to say that. But a person going through a tough time or a person going through an obstacle in their mind or, in their life for that particular moment, it's very, very hard. Many people I know personally, I'm going to speak for myself at times, I have had specifically the fear of failure. I have overcome this and figured out my quirk some way and managed to navigate through. And I'm lucky that I figured this out for myself, obviously with mentors, with the right guidance, and with people around me, good people around me, and also not so good people around me. You need a mix of both of them. But fear of failure specifically, it's not just me, but there are a lot of people who are listening to us right now who go through this. How does one deal with this?
So failure is interesting. So I think Ketan just talked about, how we've been trained to have everything so easy. So if something goes wrong, it's like a big deal. I think the first and the most important thing is our attachment to expectation. The moment I'm expecting something to happen, I've attached myself to it. I've attached who I am and what I mean to that expectation.
Can you elaborate a little bit?
Let's just say, look at schools today, right? If you don't get a 99%, you're a failure, right? And so if I don't get that 99%, I go completely nuts because I've put in everything for it and I didn't get it. So I've attached myself to that outcome.
Okay.
Okay, because of society, because of everything else, peer pressure, whatever, I've attached myself to that outcome. If I don't get, I've applied to MIT. If I don't get into MIT, oh my God, that's the end of the world for me. So this is where it comes in, is to who I'm being. And that's why it's so important, to who I'm being. So actually, nothing in life is a failure. It's a neutral circumstance. It's a redirection. So, when I say everything is a neutral circumstance, this might sound really, out of the blue. I took a long time to understand that. It's the meaning that we put on to the circumstance that makes it either a failure or a winner.
The outcome is very neutral.
It's absolutely neutral.
It's the fact.
It's your
versus-
view of that particular situation.
Absolutely.
Wow, but that is very difficult to, to come to terms with that. It's very difficult
Yes.
to tell yourself, okay, this is not a failure. This is probably an experience, and I've got to figure my way around this.
Things will happen which are beyond your control. It's how you take it, how you learn from it, and how you move ahead and move on. That's exactly what you're
It's
describing.
about what you learn from that situation and not
Absolutely.
consider that.
Everything is about what you learn from that situation.
Right.
Right? So everything is about what you learn from the situation. And the second thing is, what do I make failure mean about me? Right? So for example, Thomas Edison tried 10,000 times before he came up with the light bulb. And
Right.
someone came and said, how does it feel to have failed 10,000 times? And he said, I didn't fail 10,000 times. There were just 10,000 ways that didn't work. Right? If he didn't look at it from that point of view, we would never have had the light bulb. So everything is a redirection for us. And so you just need to look at it from a redirection point of view. If you just do that in life, nothing becomes a failure. You're no longer stressed and anxious and depressed because my outcome didn't happen.
Focus on the process, focus on the effort, not so much on the outcome
And who you're being.
and who you're being in that
Most
process.
importantly.
Interesting. Okay, for you personally, man, I know we spoke about your fears in the previous episode. We spoke about how you dealt with those fears, but tell me, has there been anything specific that has really, really pinched you from within? And speak from your heart, okay, right now?
Yeah.
Like, there's no place to sugarcoat anything because, let's be honest, man. Tell me about you. I know you're the CEO and the founder, but your fear. Let's go for it.
That sounds very important, but yeah. But the thing is that, yeah, I mean, see, today we are doing, I mean, I think this is the 7th or 8th episode that
Yeah.
we're sort of shooting out today. And we're like just speaking very casually, right? I mean,
Right.
we're having a good time, we're speaking, we're joking around on the set and whatnot. But cut back to maybe 2-3 years back, I couldn't even talk to a group of 4 people without, internally completely shaking, feeling anxious, having a set of notes that I would keep peeking into and whatnot, right? So
Right.
I would have that absolute fear of judgment that, I am sounding completely stupid.
Right.
What if I'm not making sense? These guys clearly think I'm an idiot or I'm a loser,
Right.
And as a result of which, even in my professional networks, I hardly even took up networking and stuff because I just couldn't talk to people whom I already assumed were smarter than me because, I was an idiot, right? I was a loser already. But from there on, and when I start to unravel some of these things that, everybody has these similar fears and, daunting effects and whatnot. And I started to do these a little more. And I said, okay, let me just go out and put myself out there. I don't care if I get judged, but let me see what happens. Like that's action, which we spoke about in the last one, right? And action always beats anxiety, right? And if just through that process of just putting out myself out there with 4 people, 10, 20, just 2 weeks back, I actually addressed a team of 120 people. And I just spoke without notes, without any of this thing. And I just spoke and I did that. And I was like, okay, you know what? I don't mind being judged. At one level, they probably, like, if there are 10 people judging me, there are 110 people probably saying, whoa, man, that guy speaks well. And
Nice.
I can be sure that there are 100 people who speak better than me, 100%, right? But honestly, it doesn't matter, right? I'm just doing better than what I did yesterday. I'm not taking myself so seriously. It's fine. Even if I get laughed at, cool. It's fine. And if somebody listening to this episode thinks I'm talking like an idiot, it's okay, right? I mean, you have to start taking life a little less. It's not so.
Yeah, I like what you said. You laugh at yourself. No, वैसे भी दुनिया हंस रही है तुम पर. तुम खुद पे हंस लो. I mean, I don't think it's that big a deal. At the end of
Yeah.
the day, what is very important is you mentioned a very interesting point. You said action beats anxiety. You have
Yeah.
to take that action. It's hard, yes. Not trivializing the fact that it's scary. You have to take that action, and you will have people
And
around
adding
you.
to that, the reason why it's so important to take action, especially when you're anxious, is because you don't get anxious over basic. You don't get anxious over something small, right? Okay, today I'm going to go and do 500 meters walk. Okay, you'll do it. But if you challenge yourself and you say, I'm going to do a 10-kilometer run, that's going to feel daunting. That means at some level, it's something of worth. You will want to talk about it. It's something that you're pushing yourself to do. And that anxiety will make you know that it's something that, you will feel proud of. So go ahead and do it.
Okay.
And
yeah.
that's what pushes me these days. I'm like, okay, if it's making me getting those butterflies in my stomach, something good.
Look at your eyes just go sparkly.
Yeah.
It's like, Karnika, I have to do this. I have to achieve this. But that's what happens, right? When, like I said, you mentioned a very interesting point about also taking the action, also the prep level. It's very important. A lot of times people come to me and say, hey, yaar, on the radio, you guys speak anything? Like, no, I prep a lot. I wake up at 4:30 in the morning to show up for a show at 7 a.m.
Exactly.
I prep a lot the previous day. I prep in the morning. I have my prep sheets. I have probably 30 diaries where I've written down my content pieces as to how I am going to speak. There are times where I may lose track of what I'm speaking, and hence I have a certain, my bullet points, and I like writing it because it's just easier for me than to express. Obviously, I don't have a script, but I have my bullets.
But you prepped for years.
Yeah.
You built that solid conviction that even if you waver, you will come back, right?
yes.
And that's all done through one thing and only one thing. And
That's prep and that's action.
action, absolutely.
But I've got to tell you something very personal that's happened. So I was chatting up with a friend and she's going through a breakup. Now, breakups are terrible. And now she's gotten into this whole zone where she says, I am going to get this revenge body. And I'm going to be this, this person whom he's going to regret. That, you dumped me. So now you see what I'm capable of. I love the motivation because I love the fact that she's out there. She's going to, get what she wants and she's doing it for herself. But I also feel that breakups or any kind of rejection, not just in relationships, but in terms of your work per se also, when you're rejected from a certain promotion or you're not given something that you felt you deserved, has a deeper problem. So can you help us understand this? That I feel personally that yes, the physical aspect, brilliant. but there is an emotional aspect also that needs to be dealt with, especially in this relationship per se.
Yeah, so the emotion is going a little deeper over here, right? So she's, again, if we were to go back to fact and story, the fact of the matter is that she was in a relationship with a person and now she's not in a relationship with a person.
Right.
Everything else over and above that, no matter how, hard it is to accept, is a story, right? He did this to me and so now he's going to pay it back. He's not doing anything to her. She's doing it to herself, right? She's the one judging herself about what's happened. She's the one who's saying, what will my friends say? Because it's about the rejection and it's about the looking uncool, that protecting that little story of mine.
Right.
So it's all about what we make of the circumstance that makes it sound bigger than it actually is. So I would really, and I know what she's going through because I went there.
I think
right?
all of us have
I think-
been there at some point of time.
Not in terms of a relationship, but in terms of being rejected. I've given it a lot more energy than it surely deserves, right? In terms of whether it's a job or a partner or a friend or whatever else it is, it's about how much. So I can either look at it as a learning and say, well, again, taking responsibility for what happened, right? It's like, okay, how could I have taken responsibility for what might have or might not have happened? What was my role to play here? That's when the shift begins to happen. When
Right.
I'm more in control now of my own thoughts and behaviors rather than just projecting it out onto everybody else. He did this to me, she did this to me. Because that's when the whole world is imploding, right, into us. Instead of me saying, okay, that's a learning. What can I learn from this? What could I do better?
But at that moment, it's really hard, I feel. It's
It is.
so difficult.
It is
I mean,
absolutely hard.
It's very difficult when a person's going through that kind of a rejection or that kind of a painful breakup, and for whatever reasons, they broke up or whatever
Yeah.
reason that split has happened. But it's very difficult at that moment. What do you tell yourself at that moment when you're going through so much of pain? Because I think that's the key. What is that one thing that you can tell yourself at that moment?
How am I judging myself for what has happened?
Am I blaming myself
Yeah.
for everything?
Well, how am I judging myself for what has happened? How am I trying to protect the story of me and be close to the learnings and moving forward?
Wow.
And this is tough when you're emotionally immersed in
And drained
it.
out.
Well, and then you decide whether or not you're going to give your power to somebody else and say he or she did this to me,
Right.
or what can I do in future to ensure that this doesn't happen by making a change in my own behavior and my own thoughts. So one of the behaviors could be, yes, I go out and I get physically fit, but also what else is there inside that's, because at the end of the day, how often do people break up because, I'm on the heavy side or I'm on the lighter side or whatever else it is? Because we did start dating when I was at the same size, I'm guessing, right?
Right.
So I can't suddenly, after 6 months, go, oh, hang on a second. I think your weight's a problem. I can't see you anymore. That sounds a little strange. So I want to be able to understand what else is behind this. What else happened or didn't happen in the relationship that I could take responsibility for and then go deeper and heal, like you said,
Right.
before I move on. Because unless I heal, I'm going to see this happen in all the other relationships.
It's like a loop that never
It is,
stops unless
until I learn my lesson.
yes, and it happens, right? I
It
know a lot
does.
of my friends.
It's like fixing some sort of a reaction to the actual thing rather than fixing the actual.
Yes.
It's like okay, there's a fever, so I'm just gonna have Dolo, and just put it down. But why did I actually get a fever?
Exactly.
You don't know, right? And starting a program like this with a certain, which was one trigger, right, which was the breakup in this case,
Right.
may help her to start.
I agree with you. It's very important to find the true purpose, to find the right reason why you're starting something. Otherwise, you're going to drop off easily. You're going to say, okay, maybe this was initial fuel, but ye kaam nahi kar raha hai mere liye.
Yeah, it's
personally.
needs a knee-jerk reaction, right? You
Yeah.
just thought of something. This is what I'm going to do. Okay, that's going to serve him right?
Right,
Like,
right.
this will teach him a lesson. I'm going
Right.
to do this, and you realize this is not what I want.
Right.
Probably, right?
Right.
Probably. It's a good thing if she's taking up a fitness program. If she's not doing it for the right reasons, she will fall off. So that's something that she should always be aware of.
Interesting, man. Okay, but I'm sure you've had rejections, you've had failures, you've had some crazy things happening in and around your life. Obviously, because जैसा हमने कहा था कि if you're starting a business, you're going to have 10,000 people coming and telling you, गलत कर रहे हो. What are you doing? You have such a secure job, you have such a good house, you have this, you have that. Why are you, diving into this? Why do you want to do this now? Why didn't you think about it, all of this years back when you could take that kind of risk? I'm sure you have a lot of people around you who've given you this kind of talk.
Yeah.
And what I gauge from what Monica said is a lot of people start projecting their fears on other people. हमने अचीव नहीं किया तो हमें लगता है कि इसे भी कुछ ऐसा अनकंफर्टेबल नहीं करना चाहिए, हटके नहीं करना चाहिए. So how have you dealt with all of this and people around you, telling you all of these things?
That everybody has these, well-wishers that are there around you, right? This is where, when you do want to achieve something, well-wishers are probably giving you the worst advice around it. Honestly, they actually mean well, but they don't know how to do it themselves, right? They've never been there on the path. These are people who tell you not to start a business, who have never done a business in their life. The people who've never hit the gym will tell you, oh my God, these are such extreme fitness tactics. Oh, these are not good for you and you'll never get there. People who've never taken any risk, right? They want to play defense in their entire life, but then, this is a tweet I just put out the other day was, just people who don't want to take risk. They want everything like, okay, how can I do it in a measured way? And I want to guarantee success. But will you cheer for your football team if they only play defense? No, right? What good is that football team or something, right? That just plays defense. So I've faced that in everything, right? As everybody's done it. Growing up, I grew up like this weakling child who was never taken in teams because I was never good at it, right? I wasn't strong enough to run so fast or hit those sixes and whatnot. So I grew up like that. I became fat. I put on a lot of weight during my CA exams and stuff like that. And then I grew up thinking, oh my God, I've got so much this thing. How do I break through that? How do I break through that? But all of those people who helped me along the way were my well-wishers, and therefore I was never able to break past their own limitations because they had limitations in their own mind.
Right.
So instead of that, if you seek out, when I say professional help, I mean professional help, like somebody who's actually been there and done that.
Who's done the job, who's
been there, done that. So think of Master Shifu, think of Youre. They were already stalwarts at what they did. They were there, now they were helping their own, pupils, so to say, to actually now get there. So they've actually been down the path. They know what to do. They have no vested interest. They'll never be jealous because you actually, their only goal is to help you. You're actually paying them to do it, right? So they actually have that vested interest to help you. And they're not people who are just talking out of experience of just 1, 2, but they've helped hundreds of people, right?
And they've gone through that path. They know.
You can't go down, you can't take somebody down a road you've not been there before, right? Mm-hmm. So that's why Monica, she's actually been there. She's actually gone through her own journey of enlightenment through all of that stuff. She's actually seen those rejection, all of that. She's come out, now she's made a career and she's helping hundreds of people. The same that we do at Alpha Coach, right? We've got a bunch of coaches who live the path. Everybody's supposed to go down that road, get to a photo shoot, get extremely fit, get extreme this thing. And these are people who've trained hundreds of trainees earlier.
Right.
That's exactly why a professional coach really comes in play. And not your well-wishers, not your gym bro, not your this thing, not your uncle who probably had one small business, or most of people who did that. It's not about small or big or whatever, but
I know what you're
they
saying.
may not be the ideal people giving you advice.
You
right?
need professional help. You need somebody to tell you, mentor you, and to show you the path because they've been down that road. And specifically what you mentioned, don't have any vested interests.
They can't. They'll never be jealous, right? They have nothing else to. They don't compare with you. They're far ahead. They've lived their life. They've done that. They're already living that alpha living life that we call.
So they only will help you propel ahead, go ahead, and take those necessary steps.
Exactly.
Very interestingly put. And coming back to what we spoke about relationships also, about being in the loop. I feel I've heard a lot of people more than often say this to me that, yaar, I'm just attracting the same people.
Yes.
ये same relationship में मैं घुस गया. Same boss, same employees, same this, same. I don't know when this is going to stop.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of people listening to us, watching us are saying that, हाँ यार, ये ऐसे होता है. I'm attracting the same men, I'm attracting the same women, I'm attracting the same boss, I'm attracting the same colleagues, same situations. How do you break this loop, yeah? Because I broke my loop with some certain things.
It starts with you, right? Who's the problem? Somewhere. Like, you're not a problem, but your thinking is the problem, right?
Yeah.
This is why you actually break that.
The moment you realize that you're in a loop, you realize you've put yourself in a box. And unless you take ownership for understanding that everything in the world around you, those relationships, those bosses, those
Colleagues, friends.
The money levels coming in also, the revenue coming in, the salary coming in. If you realize you've plateaued at a certain level, you've got a block. And the block is not coming from outside, it's coming from inside. And I think that's the hardest to come to terms with. To understand that it's coming from me. I'm creating this.
I'm responsible for it.
I'm responsible for it. I'm the one projecting it onto everybody else until I go inside and I heal that. And that's when you move from victim, everything's happening to me, to everything's happening for me. This is a lesson. What am I learning from this? If you've come to that point, your life just turns around completely. But that's the hardest turning point.
Taking from what you just said, everything is happening to me, to
Yes.
everything is happening for me.
Yep.
I was playing football, okay? Now I want to say this. I'm going to be very candid about this. And I feel bad things happen to good people and vice versa. Good things happen to bad people. And there's no fixed formula to this. Just because you've been good does
Things happen to people.
Things happen to people. There the man speaks.
Master Oogway.
He speaks it.
There is no good or bad.
Bad. Things happen to people. Just because you've been good does not absolve you from any of life's challenges or difficult situations. I busted my knee, have torn ACL, probably need surgery, and I went to the zone and I was like, why me? Why me? And you know, I'm not very superstitious, but I had my grandma tell me, I think nazar lag rahi hai. There's too much of you know how grandmothers are overtly protective and love and all of that. It's like, nazar lag rahi hai. I think you need to, you know, ward off this negative energy. And somewhere, I did believe it. Because, you know, it's coming from a place where I know it's my grandmom. And somewhere in my head also, I believe this, that maybe there's some negative energy around me and I need to be very careful, because how can this happen to me? I didn't do anything to anybody. I had not wronged anyone. I was living my life the way it was. And why me? So it took me some time to come to terms with it. But the initial part was very irritating. Like, why me? Why? How can this happen to me? So it's very hard when these unfortunate circumstances happen. I know we spoke about this in the previous episode. We said that life is going in a certain direction. Something's
Yeah.
thrown at you and you go, boom, everything falls apart.
You're giving yourself too much importance. You need to take yourself lightly. It's like nobody has the time to this thing. Everybody has their own problems. I honestly believe that. Like, I don't have times to wish you bad. I have way too many of my own problems to this thing to solve for the day, right? And that's why I think you honestly, I mean, I would give you, if you actually asked me this as a friend, like, you know, not on a podcast, I would say, listen, chill, bro. Nobody's got anything against you.
Nobody has the time to waste.
Nobody has the
wishing bad
time.
for you.
Everybody has enough going on in their life, okay? And nobody has the power to wish something bad and actually happens for you. That is only some, I don't know.
No, we're not talking about
tantric stuff. That doesn't happen in real life.
Disclaimer, we do not promote any kind of superstitions. Monica, your perspective on this.
Well, so I'd like to take you through a few questions. Is it okay if I
Yeah,
ask you
absolutely.
some questions?
This
Okay.
is totally unplanned. Let's see how this goes. All right.
Okay. So from what you told me about your knee,
Right.
okay, I sensed a lot of frustration in the way you kind of
Right.
narrated that incident.
Right.
Where is that frustration coming from?
I won't be able to move. I won't be able to do the things that I want to do. And I'm an active person. I can't sit in one place. I love to be on the go. And now it's going to go to maybe 50% of the pace that I used to function at. So it's annoying.
It is annoying.
Very.
Okay, so you also said, you know, why me?
Yeah, why me? Why me?
So what is the assumption behind that question? That
I am feeling like a little victim over here of something that, you know, I didn't deserve this.
okay.
So it's
So does that make you feel like you're in control of what's happening?
absolutely not. I have no
Right.
control. Absolutely. There's nothing.
Right. Okay, so we just talked about the fact that, you know, you can turn that around. So if you're looking at it right now, is that from a perspective of this is happening to me or is this happening for me?
How do I think of it?
What are you thinking right now?
To me.
Is it happening to you? What if you turned it around and said, this is happening for me? How could you look at it as a learning?
Interesting. Instead of
You should have been studying and not playing.
that is exactly what my dad would say. You should have studied and not gone to play. This is what happens when you don't listen to daddy. But honestly, it's hard. It's very hard to put your mind in that zone and say, okay, this has happened for me and not to me. It's difficult.
It is.
So how do I do this?
Well, if you would really want to look at it from a place of coming from a place of control and power, not over somebody else, but over yourself
Right.
and the situation, how could you turn that around? Try. What are the learnings that you could get from this situation?
The learnings, please warm up before playing. Get a good night's sleep, because sleep is very, very essential, and sleep is very underrated. A lot of people think not sleeping is cool. Not that I believe that, but get a good night's sleep. Stay hydrated, and definitely, one more definitely, warm up before you play.
So those are great learnings for yourself going forward. If I could ask you, how could you emerge from rehab or surgery, whatever you have to go through, as a stronger person? If you looked at yourself on the other side as a stronger person, how would you look at this whole process?
I think if you ask me now that you're asking me these questions, I feel I'm somebody who doesn't have patience. I think maybe this situation is forcing me to be in a place where I will have to develop that sense of patience.
Yeah.
Maybe I would have to develop a certain sense of, okay, this has happened. This is not, I like to control things. I love being in charge of things. And I'm that person. I have controlled the whole situation in my head. At this point of time, there are a lot of things that I cannot control per se. So maybe I am also learning to let go a little bit. Maybe I am learning to ease out a little bit. And like Ketan said, don't take yourself too seriously. So maybe I'm learning not to take myself too seriously. But then now when I look back and I sit and I think, as we're chatting, I believe that the world will continue to function.
And you're doing the work. It wasn't so hard as you thought it would be, right? And even if you haven't found the answer yet, maybe now during this conversation you've already found a lot of answers. But sometimes you'll get those answers in time, right? It'll come to you at some point. It's not a race again, right? So I think
Interesting.
fantastic questions, yeah.
I think at this moment, if the camera could show, I'm levitating. I'm already levitating off the ground. Wow, guys, this has been personal therapy session. So thank you. This is taken care of, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, this is taken care of. I needed to know because otherwise it gets very difficult. But tell us, okay, is Monica going to be associated with Alpha Coach, and what are the future plans? Because this is very interesting because it's so unplanned, and a lot of answers, a lot of opening up happened over here. So how is this going to work?
Honestly believe, however well you're doing, right, in every aspect, there's always a next level. Right. So you can definitely look at fitness and you can find next level in that. And that's where Alpha Coach comes in. No matter where you start, we can help you. So with that same thought process, Monica comes in and delivers so much value, as you guys have seen, in terms of how you can actually just unblock your own mind to be able to help create more success for yourself. Starting right now, like the whole present, the whole being aspect of it is that you can feel successful right now. So she's, we're still working out the complete details. Like we've had a bunch of things, but yeah, we're professionally associating. We're trying to figure out how we can have Monica help our clients also elevate and, do some sort of coaching with us. So that they can actually also get the benefit from what all the value that Monica brings to us. Yeah.
Monica, brilliant. Yeah, I think all your expertise and under your tutelage, I think a lot can be achieved. The mind will open up further.
Right.
I think we all know what to do, but how to do, you will teach us. And I think this session has been very, very informative, very interesting. So thank you, guys. Thank you for all your expertise, for your perspective on details about the mind, about the body, and how we can work to our optimal level and how we can make this world beautiful and better for us. Because like I always say, charity begins at home. So start with yourself. Be kind to yourself, be awesome to yourself. And to go from awe say awesome, you always have coaches. This is the Alpha Coach Podcast. My name is Glenn Saldanha. I am signing off. Ketan and Monica are the two geniuses, along with me, third one,
Thank
on
you.
this episode. Thank you, guys, and
Thanks,
ciao.
Glenn.
Great. Thank you.